Hello, what's up everybody? This is TonTon here and welcome back to my channel. And today I have a brand new figures to show you. This is Transformer War for Cybertron Kingdom Leader Class Beast War Megatron from the inspired and taken directly from the Beast War franchise. And so now let's begin. So here we have Megatron in his alternate mode, which is a Tyrannosaurus Rex. And I must say that this is really nice and it is completely catching up from the old Beast War, which capture the spirit of the characters really well. And the first thing I noticed about this guy is that the use of rubbery material on this guy. All the skin describing parts are made from rubbers. So this is a really nice touch because it makes the figures have a feel of realistic without the need of too many paints. This is different from the Masterpiece Megatron, the Beast War version, because as for the Masterpiece, it is actually plastic that got painted. And in my personal opinion, I would prefer this one to the Masterpiece because first, it describes the skin layers perfectly, and the second is that you can play with it without the fear of paint tripping. Because let's be honest, the Masterpiece Megatron Beast War is a pain in the ass when it comes to transforming because of the paint. I have to be really careful handling that figures. And so now I'm gonna bring in the Beast War version, the Masterpiece version, to compare. So the first thing I'm gonna notice here is that the head of the Beast War version is a lot bigger than this one. So the explanation for that would be a T-Rex head would be the size of these figures. But then for the Beast War, I think they sacrifice it for the complement of the robot mode, because something that would come in later is that this head in the robot mode is kind of small for the whole body scale. And secondly, the scale, I don't want to talk too much about that because that is obviously a reason is that the Beast War the Masterpiece is a lot bigger than this one right here. And finally, in this mode, the biggest difference is that the shade of purple, because as you can see for the Masterpiece version, they use a much darker purple with less green, but for the Kingdom version, they use the lighter purple tone and also make the greens more popping up. And also, the shade of the yellow underneath the belly in the Kingdom version has made it bigger. So I think that this is aims for the more realistic looks of the beast instead of just like focusing on the movie accurate, the cartoon accurate itself. So now let's get to this guy's special features. Now talking about this dinosaur specifically, here's some nice thing I want to notice. First is the mouth. As you can see, this is the entire head is made from rubber, so it is really nice. And when you open the mouth, you still got that scaling effect, which is really nice. And like when you open one jaw, like the other jaws also open at the same time. So that is a really nice features. And of course we have the eye. The eye, in my opinion, is nicely painted, but I would prefer it to have a little bit more character because that is what he looks like on the show. But then again, this is really nice. You got a tongue, which is unfortunate that it cannot move, and the teeth is really nicely painted. I enjoy this kind of detail. And moving on from the head, we move on to the arms. The arms is unpainted, which is a minor thing, but then it can easily be fixed by some white paint, so that won't be a problem. And I love this detail over here because like it has the feel that like the skin of that section is being pulled by the arms. So it's great for posing, and I enjoy that they look for minor details like that. And of course this one here. So as you can see, it lacks the color, so it means that these pieces are separately painted and then assembled. So which is really nice. Moving down a little bit onto the leg. As you can see, the leg here is quite interesting because like you got two joints. One is for the actual thighs, and then the other detail is this armor section over here. So like it's actually a separate joint, but when you move it, so they move together, so you wouldn't have the fear. So like they're quite nice. So I will show you that joint more specific in the robot mode. And of course you still got that tail wheeling, which is good and really nice. And finally, if you turn this around, as you can see, this is interesting because when I first saw the figures, I thought the nails here, the fang here is actually painted, but then now it is a separate piece, so no need to worry about paint tripping. I'm really glad that they went this way. This is really unexpected. So I think that is enough for the dinosaur mode. Now let's get to some size comparison. Now as for the size comparison, here we have Megatron next to Cheetor and Rat Trap, so you get the hint of what a leader class look like. with a deluxe class and a core class. And to be honest, they look fine to me with the scaling. And so now here we have Megatron with a kingdom next to Siege Megatron. So as you can see, they are quite nice. Because one thing is that the transform of the Beast War is actually a lot smaller than the transformer of the old era, because we know that Beast War are future transformers. So yeah, that is quite nice to see them scaling next to each other. So just to imagine how big a transformer actually is. Size comparison with Kingdom parallel tracks. Like I have predicted before, the dinosaur mode of Megatron would be based on skeleton form of parallel tracks, and it looks a little bit bigger, but I was really wrong. The Megatron dinosaur mode is a lot bigger than I expected. We can look at their height, and then this is the reason that makes this Megatron T-Rex mode looks a lot more awesome than I would predict before. Now let's get to transformation. So to begin with transformation, first lift up this section over here and repeat it. Then bring this whole section up front. Then take this panel out. So at this point you would want to be really careful, because this is actually a piece of rubber that got snapped on a piece of plastic, so it will have the tendency to fall off, but that is okay. So lift up this two panel. And then you can bring this section up and to form it into this position. And you can start to see the hand. This is the left arms. Split this in half. Flip up the head. Now rotate the left arm first. Then rotate the right arms. Then rotate the upper body and clip it onto this peg over here. This is quite tricky to begin with, but then after a few times, here we go. Pull this out and tap it in. Then straighten the leg, and we are done. So repeat the same thing. And now for this, at first this is quite tricky, so don't try to bring them in at once, but remember there's this white piece over here. You want to it into the 90 degrees position first, and then you bring them together. So this is quite tight, so here's a trick. Bend this up first, and then bring this whole thing down, and then repeat. And then you can snap them together. Bring this down, and this is the joint I have told you about. So this is like a C joint, so that is quite nice. It holds everything together, and it creates a movement for the thigh section of the robot mode. And you can simply rotate it. So these two here are spring loaded, so that is quite nice. So you just want to bring them down just like that, which is really nice. And this will just bend and stay here, and then fold this in, and we're done. So finishing transforming Megatron, I got the feeling is really good. I would say that this is somewhat of a freshly transformed experience, because of the fact that I had to deal with quite an amount of rubbery material parts. So the transforming went smoother than I expected. And I enjoy the way he looks in the robot mode. It's still full of characteristic and everything, which I really enjoy. And the only downside after this transformers will be the backpack, and especially the thigh section. I feel that is hanging way out too much, but I have some alternate way to fix it, and I will show you later. So now let's get to the detail of this guy right here. So here we have Megatron. Now let's get to the details of him. The first thing I want to say is that the dinosaur head looks really nice and it looks good, but it just feels a little bit off, and I'm gonna bring in the masterpiece version. Before anyone say that the masterpiece is a lot more expensive than the leader class, I'm gonna say this first, is that I'm not comparing the actual finish, but I'm comparing the design of the scale. Like I've said, this is the problem that I have mentioned since the dinosaur mode, is that the T-Rex head of the masterpiece is much bigger in scale I repeat, in scale than the Kingdom version. And at this point right here, I can say I would prefer the Masterpiece because like the bigger arms makes him look stronger, a lot stronger than the actual Kingdom versions. Because of the dinosaur head is kind of small, so when he moves and have some poses, it feels kind of weak, you know. And also because if you look closely, the bicep part of the Masterpiece version is longer than the bicep of the Kingdom version. Thus, it makes him kind of looks weak, but then again, I still love him. He's still really nice. And on top of that, if you open up the mouth of the Kingdom versions, you would notice that there's a cannon inside his mouth, and I absolutely adore this. But then the Masterpiece version doesn't have it. So yeah, this is +1 for the Kingdom version. And the second thing I want to compare about will be the left arms. With the Masterpiece version, they went with a straight dinosaur tail. So in the robot mode, it looks really nice and have the tips. But with the Kingdom versions, they went with a slightly bended up tail. So in this version, in this mode here, it looks kind of weird, but it's alright because we have a alternate way of fixing it, which is simply rotating the tail in this direction. So yeah, I think it looks better, and I think I will display my Megatron at this angle over here. And one more thing is that I really enjoy is that they keep the thigh gun. Yeah, that is really nice. They keep the thigh guns and make it smaller. I know that it is compliment for the transforming, but then again, I enjoy the thigh guns of Megatron. I think it's a really nice accessories or slash weapon, and I enjoyed it. Yeah, and of course, talking about the thighs, as you can see here, they went with a different color this time. So here we have, instead of green, darkish greenish and purple, we have a dark purple upon a light purple. So yeah, I mean, like I like things change here and there, and I think this looks great. And talking about change, move on to the upper body section. As you can see, we have a lot of changing in details overall. So up for the torso, as you can see, the first thing I want to say is that they changed the color mix. So here, instead of having metal purple and black, we have just purple and then gunmetal gray. So I think both works, and that just look great onto each other. But with the Kingdom version, it catch the lights and highlight it up onto the center section of the body. Unlike with Masterpiece Megatron, that they highlight the center of the body by having the outside section glossy. And one more thing is that if you look closely up to the 4 piece upon his chest, with Masterpiece Megatron, they are like armors and spike, but with Kingdom Megatron, they are vent. So yeah, that is quite interesting, some change in design and overall. And of course, this is neck armor with the Megatron. This is the bowl-shaped scythe and kind of dull, but with this, it looks like kind of teeth and makes him look more fearsome. The face sculpt is still the same. There's nothing too much to say about the face sculpt, but then this is still Beast School Megatron, and we still love this face sculpt a lot. The two armors are quite similar, but look onto the Kingdom versions, they are a lot different. One is spiking up and one is like sloping down. So I enjoy the change. It makes him looks a lot more catcher. And enough for the details. I think now it's time I would show you how I would alternate his backpack of him in a better looking way. So the two things I would prefer to fix that backpack, that hip backpack. The first one is to move it down to the thigh section. So you do it by simply rotating it to the upper position, and then just simply move it on a little bit down, something like that. So this would work if you just leave him hanging in a single pose. So I think that is nice because it makes him feel like he's wearing a trench coat. So but that would looks the best if you want to pose him in just a standing poses. And the other way is to move this upper section. So actually there's this purple connector over here. It's actually for the dinosaur mode. Just click it up on here and move this a little bit, move it. And that is the second one. So this would serve for the posing purpose, and I feel like this is not bad, you know. It makes him like he's having some kind of armor or shit or some kind of that. But it would be great for posing because now you have the whole lower section free. And if I need a poses, I would recommend this. Now let's get to some size comparison. So here we have Megatron next to Cheeto and Red Trap. This is a deluxe class and a core class versus a leader class, and like I said, I love their scaling. The scaling is brilliant over here. So yeah, now move on. And here we have Megatron next to Megatron, and I mean they look nice. I wouldn't be surprised because like the leader from Kingdom is just slightly taller than the Voyager, and like I said, they are much smaller robot, and I would not be too surprised about that. And now here we have Megatron next to another Tyrannosaurus Rex robot. This is leader class Dinobot from Studio Series 86. They are quite similar on the size. I would do a review of Dinobot soon. And now moving on to the articulation. And now for the articulation, we begin with the head. You can look up thanks to the transformation gimmick really high and down like that. You can do a rotation. Now for the left arms, first you can do a full rotation, and surprisingly not too hindered by the backpack, and he got moving out like that. Got a bicep swivel, a 90 degrees elbow bend. We got some rotation of the hands and bring it up like that, which is really nice, but I would doubt that he can hold anything. So let me try something, okay? I'm gonna bring in Megatron Siege, Megatron Sword, see if he can hold it. The answer is yes, but it's kind of hindered by all of these accessories upon this, so yeah, he can hold it. This tip can rotate, and of course you still got that hinge. And moving on to the right arms, firstly I've mentioned is that he got a shoulder movement, a butterfly joint, and rotate. Arms can move out, full rotation, and this is the elbow bend. And you got two bend, and the dinosaur mouth can open and close. You got a waist swivel, and when I put him at this kind of alternate, the swivel will not be hindered by that backpack piece. And he got a beautiful split, but then it got blocked by the cannon. But if you pull the cannon back into the normal position of the dinosaur mode, so you got a full split, which is really nice. So instead of having a thigh swivel, you got a knee swivel, which is kind of blocked, but again it's fine. You got a kick to the front and kick to the back. Like I said again, this is best for articulation because it is not hindered by the huge piece of cable underneath. And this is the bend of the knee, and you got some toe bend, some feet movement, and you got a pivot. So I mean, the articulation of this guy is decent enough. I enjoyed it, and I think that this is what we would expect from a leader class of this line. So this is the first leader class we've seen in Kingdom. So I'm quite impressed with this guy right here, and I enjoy having him in my collection because I have long wait for a smaller version of the masterpiece Beast War Megatron. And I enjoyed having him at this state, and it is a nice figure. I would highly recommend him. And before I'm off to show you some pictures, I have always said, subscribe to my channel if you are new, and like and share this video, and also give me a subscribe and follow me on Instagram. That is where I do most of my updates. I just got my Instagram account back. And finally, if you feel like you can help me out with this figure in the future, feel free to buy me a coffee. Link is in the description below. So that will be it for today, guys. TonTon out.